Thanks, Jim. Welcome to the January meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission. My name is Greg Young. I'm the chair of the commission. And this meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of June 16th, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Northborough Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Northborough Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda, unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tom Beals.
Here.
Dan Clark.
Here.
Justin Dufresne.
Here.
Todd Hellweek.
Here.
Kelly Marston.
Here.
Very good. Staff, when I call your name, please respond. Mia McDonald.
Here.
Jim DiGiulio.
Here.
Some ground rules. I will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the commission will be conducted by roll call vote. After commission members have spoken, I will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. Excuse me. By Zoom, click raise hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized. I will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once I have a list of all public commentators, I will call each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Justin, you're up.
All right. The meeting will include the following hearings pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, and the Northborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Northborough Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance Bylaw. A notice of intent for 14 Hillside Road, map 105, parcel 13, by Julio Rock, Seacoast Mortgage Corporation, for proposed septic system repair and associated site work. A notice of intent and land disturbance permit for 200 Bartlett Street, map 66, parcel 7, by Richard Gates, RJ Devereaux Corp., for proposed construction of a contractor's yard with associated parking, utilities, stormwater infrastructure, and associated site work. And a notice of intent for 314 Church Street, map 43, parcel 17, by Eric Hyder, for proposed renovation in addition to existing single-family house, a new driveway, septic replacement, landscaping, and associated site work.
Thanks, Justin. All right, meeting minutes for December. And I believe, Dan, you need to recuse yourself from these.
Right.
Any questions, comments, corrections on the meeting minutes? If
Make
there are
a
none,
motion we
I'm sorry,
accept Meetings minutes for December.
motion by Tom,
Second.
seconded by Todd. Let's roll call. Dan Clark.
Wasn't here. Wasn't there.
It's a test, Dan. Please pass the next one. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Morriston.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay. Moving right along. Mia, I believe that Hudson Street has requested another continuance. Correct?
Yes, they have.
Did they re-notify abutters? I know you were talking about that.
They had considered it and I did a legal ad last month. But they didn't come in.
Okay,
They did request a new abutters list.
they did?
Yes, and that's valid for a few months.
Fair enough. Okay. Then we need a motion to continue the
Make a motion to continue
0 Hudson.
0 Hudson Street till the February 13th meeting?
February 14th. You can just say February
14th.
meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Kelly. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I vote yes. Continued. All right, Hillside Road, Vito Colonna. Okay, welcome, Vito.
All right.
Happy New Year. So tonight's gonna be the Vito show, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we got a couple. They kind of built up. So
Okay, fair enough. Hillside, let's talk about that. That's an interesting access, interesting site.
mhm. All right. We ready to start? Are you gonna read anything in or anything?
I think we're good. We have something to show and
All right. Oh, I gotta get my screen sharing enabled.
Sorry about that. Should be fixed now.
Okay. Okay. So we're over at 14 Hillside. It's a pretty small piece of property. It's 4,700 square feet. And it's right on Smith Pond to the rear. So right now there's an existing house kind of in the middle. There's Smith Pond to the rear. And then the 100-foot buffer zone is all the way out to Hillside. So the entire site's inside the buffer zone. It is a challenging site with the slope coming down the back. So there were a couple components to this one. The first one was they want to replace the septic system. So right now there is a existing cesspool located right in here, kind of off to the side of the house, and that's in failure. So it has to be replaced. And we proposed to put a septic right up in the front, just about as far as we could get it away from the wetland. It's about 60 feet from the edge of wetlands, but it is basically as far as we could push that away. So it is an improvement, providing more separation from both groundwater and horizontally to the wetlands. And then along with that, they also have a new water service coming in right over here on the side. That's just pushed to the side to avoid the septic system. And then also looking to abandon the well out in the back over in here. And then another part of the project that came in after we filed, we amended the plans to show this, but the owner had a structural consultant look at the foundation, and there are repairs and replacement of the foundation that's needed. So we pulled the erosion barrier kind of out and around to give as much space as we can. It is difficult access back here, but they do need to do foundation work on that. We did sent in the letter from the structural engineer. It was just a one-page letter, but it did call that it does need to be replaced, that it isn't suitable any longer. So there will have to be some handwork, obviously down in there, either that or with small machinery, but they can't really fit anything of any size down in there. And then there's that slope going down to the water. So it is going to be tough access for them to get down there, but it is something that they kind of have to deal with and but get that done around the back there. Overall, we have about 2,100 square feet of disturbance in that buffer. And, it's basically everything around the side and then a small part in the rear. And we did carry those erosion controls around the back to protect that during construction. I think that's kind of the overview of it. I can take some questions.
There certainly doesn't appear to be many options, if any.
Yeah, this septic is kind of tight. We had to get some waivers from Board of Health even to push it this close to the roadway.
When would you put those erosion control barriers in, Vito?
That would have to be done right in the beginning. Basically the first step.
Okay. I mean, is the timetable like after this meeting or sometime in the spring or?
No, I think the septic and the water, because they can't open the road, I think until the spring. So the water service wouldn't go in until the spring, and I don't think the septic would go in until the spring.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to start maybe some of the foundation work. Right now is not the greatest time to be starting foundation work, though. So it may be a springtime project, but you never know if they feel like, if get ambitious, they might start it sooner.
Now that's a pretty good step. It's pretty steeped out of the water, right? For where you are,
Yeah.
the backside.
Yeah, that slopes down pretty steep right there.
What type of barriers do you think about putting in? Because they're going to have to be pretty sturdy and pretty well dug in.
Yeah, we had done the wattles with the silt fence. We could upgrade to like a straw bale with the silt fence instead of the wattle. That might give a little bit more beef to it, kind of hold up a little bit more. We could do that, maybe say the straw bales, at least along this down gradient spot.
Yeah, in addition to the wattle, in addition to the fence.
Yep. Yeah, you could put the silt fence and then straw bales,
Yeah.
full bale.
Questions from the commission here?
None for me. It looks like it's an improvement overall with the limited area that there is to work with.
Yeah, I agree. Seems pretty tight. Is anything coming out of there, Vito? I see looks like a retaining wall, maybe that's holding up a gravel driveway that looks like it kind of goes off the property. And that
Yeah, there's one
fence,
kind of right in there. I think that was intended to stay.
Okay.
So I think basically the intent was to kind of, there's this little wall down in here, and then this one, I thought those were to stay. They hadn't expressed any concerns about having to move those. This one was very close to the septic tank. So it'll just be maybe the end of it might have to get modified. That tank goes in. But I think overall it was intended to stay there.
Looks like you're doing whatever you can do on this one.
Yeah, it's a tight one.
I was looking at
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan, sorry.
I was just looking at some of the pictures. It looks like this house is abandoned. There's no one living there.
Yeah, right now there's no one in there. So that's why there's no real immediate, need that where the septic system has to be replaced like tomorrow or anything.
Mia, is this the site that there have been a couple of issues with the work starting without proper certification or licensing?
I don't know.
There's an open enforcement order on the property for work starting, but
Okay.
the enforcement order just tells them to cease and file a notice of intent.
Okay.
So we could seek that resolution tonight too.
Well, the NOI is in front of us.
Mhm.
Mia, do you have any concerns or any points you want brought up about this one?
Just to reiterate, to call to install the erosion controls and call for inspection prior to the start of work. I'm very happy they hired an engineer. There was some confusion. They had hired an architect just inside, so I'm really happy to see that they hired an engineer, got a site plan, included all the site work. So it seems like the new owner is really trying to come into compliance.
Good. All right, let me see if we need public comment here. If there's no other questions from the commission. I don't see any hands up. Okay. So if we have are there any special conditions we want? And we've already talked a bit about adding straw wattles to the fencing. Anything else needs to be covered here? I mean, it's a tight site. It's very steep. The pond is right there. There's not much more we really can do other than keep an eye on the site when they start too.
And just, note in the minutes, and I don't think it's kind of redundant to put a special condition in that this really doesn't include any landscaping. The backyard's a bit wild, and it wasn't this owner, it was a previous owner, was back there cutting vegetation. And I called and had to ask them to stop, and they said they were cleaning it, and I say, you can't just cut trees down there without a permit. So just to really note for the record that the erosion control line is the limit of work, and any work beyond that would need a new notice of intent, because the area has renaturalized fully.
Okay, fair enough. Then we're going to move forward here, starting by closing the hearing. Need a motion for that?
Make a motion to close the hearing on 14 Hillside Road.
Second.
Second by Todd. Roll call. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
I make a motion to issue order of conditions for 14 Hillside Road with the
Go ahead.
addition of the straw wattles.
Mhm.
It was the straw bales, right?
I'm sorry,
straw
straw
bales.
bales instead of straw wattles on the pond side.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by Kelly. Roll call. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Vito can stay right here with us. And now we're talking a notice of intent and land disturbance permit application for 200 Bartlett Street. Anybody else we need here?
If there is a Paula Devereaux and Rick Gates,
Rick Gates, I see.
and Dario,
Rick
Demare.
Gates is in. I do not
Right.
see. Oh, Dario Demare.
Yep. And if a Paula Devereaux comes in at some point, should want to be in on the meeting too.
I'm here.
Oh, there she is. Sorry.
It's okay.
Paula, Rick, and Dario have joined us.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I am out on this one as I represent the property owner.
Very good. Thank you, Todd. Okay, Mia, you want to set us up on this?
Vito, do you want me to share the plan?
I have a couple on there I can share.
Okay. Do you mind if Vito shares the plan and introduces us?
That's fine. Yep.
All right. So we are at 200 Bartlett Street. It's a 6.7 acre parcel, and it's currently developed with basically 3 primary buildings, and then there's 2 outbuildings. These 3 shown here, and there's a building right here. It's a garage, and then another garage down here. This Oh, this building in the rear, this is Lammy's Automotive.
Mhm.
You're probably familiar with that. And then these front two buildings are currently unoccupied. And so out in the rear, there are some bordering vegetated wetlands kind of going along. There's this blue line in the back. They extend up into the site and then kind of cover the corner over in here. And the 100-foot buffer zone extends up, this is yellow line, extends up into the rear portion of the site. Overall, the site's fairly developed. It's been worked over the years. Even this area in the back, it's more of it's a field with some overgrown, little bit of scrub. You can tell it's been developed. There's some spoil piles kind of in the back here. There's been excavation, in the past, all out in here. The only areas really haven't been touched are basically right up tight to the wetlands. The rest of the areas over time has been, developed and worked over the years. So the existing site has serviced by septic systems, and there are actually 4 on site. 3 were currently being used. There's 1 for this building, 1 for the back building, 1 for the side, and then there was an old leach field over in here that was historically from a chemical use that was in this building. And Paula can kind of go over some of that later on, because I know that was a topic that Mia had asked about previously. We did soil testing out there, and the soils on site are fairly favorable. They're a Merrimack soil, which is permeable sand. All the testing showed a good sand, varying from a fine to a coarse gradation. And groundwater varies. It's about 4 feet to 7 feet below grade. As you get closer to the wetland, obviously it gets closer to grade down in here. So what they're proposing to do is redevelop the site. And the intent is to reuse the existing buildings, rehab them, renovate them. They don't intend to build any new buildings on site. Lammy Automotive would stay as their existing use in the back. And then RG Devereaux would take over these front 2 buildings. It would be more used as their contractor yard and their operations base. This building over here would be their administrative building, and also they do a lot of training. They do a significant amount of work with the gas companies. So there's a lot of training that goes on for safety purposes. So this would be their training and administrative building. And then the other building over here would be more of their maintenance building, where they maintain their own equipment. Nothing huge as far as maintenance. They don't do, change a transmission or something like that. But they just maintain their equipment, an oil change, small engine repair, something like that. It's just to maintain their equipment throughout the year. So the new development would redevelop the site where we have new parking, pavement, 2 driveway entrances, and connect the site into one usable area. Before it was kind of segmented into 2 kind of almost separate areas. This plan would join the 2, provide circulation in there, provide all their working area, storage for all their equipment, storage for materials, and also this would give us circulation for emergency vehicles to get in and out of there. And there is a fair amount of increase in impervious area. We go from about 80,000 square feet in the existing to just under 140,000 in the proposed. So what we've done is proposed a fairly large infiltration basin out in the back here. And we've also done some roof drainage on this building right up front here. Under the existing conditions, there really isn't any drainage out there. So there's no real treatment or infiltration or anything like that. So this system would bring the entire site into compliance, would provide treatment of all the paved surfaces with the structural stormwater treatment systems. Would right now proposing storm scepters on all the discharges. So that would provide not only a sediment, but also we wanted to get some oil and floatable removals, especially down here in front of the automotive garage. So we provided that area down there with some treatment, and then the remainder of the site gets treatment and also infiltration in the back over in here. As far as the limit of work goes, we have held that 25-foot, the no-touch area. We are fairly tight in this area, but we've tried to maintain that throughout. And we've also held the 35-foot no structure throughout that. During construction, we have I have a erosion control plan, and maybe a little bit difficult to tell with the colors on here, but essentially what we're doing is we'd provide a berm to create a temporary basin around the back there, and then also one around here. So early on in construction, would put in first the erosion controls around the edge, and then they'd construct this small berm. So essentially that would just contain everything from the site, everything from the work area on site. So it's a fairly simple system, but it would be effective and contain everything on site without letting it get to the wetlands during construction. All right, I think that was my brief overview. I know Mia did have some comments, and we submitted updated plans. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at them yet, but we did kind of address Mia's comments. I don't know if there's any particular ones you want to go through, but I think we did go with those, and we provided also the LSP report on the previous contamination or ongoing monitoring that's out there. I can let Paula kind of go through that ongoing monitoring that's part of the site right now. Paula?
Sure. So as Vito indicated, there was an area that had some contamination because there was a circuit manufacturing company that was located here in the late 80s, 1980s. There was some volatile chemicals that were detected in a leaching field. The owner had some work done in September of 2002 through 2009 to treat the contaminants. The problem is that this is in a groundwater protection area. And as an aside, I want to let you know that we did go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the for the maintenance facility in the building as you're looking at it right now to the right. But anyways, to get back to the contamination, there was, because it was in a groundwater area, what happened is the seller and the LSP for the seller were told by DEP that because the Lyman Street well, the water well, had been discontinued, and because this was an industrial area, that this didn't have to be cleaned up to drinking water standards. That has since been proven not to be true. And DEP does, because it's in a groundwater protection area under local zoning, the DEP now requires that even if a well isn't being utilized, requires that the property be cleaned up to drinking water standards. Had been treated, the treatment did work at the time, but because of that, there was a response action outcome, which is one of the end points of a 21E filing system with DEP, was not exactly accurate. So that's going to have to be withdrawn, and we'll be submitting a new operating plan to DEP to deal with the contamination. It's basically going to consist of monitoring it over some time. Our LSP does not feel that any additional treatment is needed and that the contaminants will dissipate over time. We did have it tested as part of the due diligence for the purchase of this property. My client, the RJ Devereaux Company, will be purchasing this property for its own use. We understand the ramifications of this and the monitoring requirements. But we also think that the introduction of the stormwater controls here will also help to alleviate any contamination issues. So we're fully we're fully prepared to keep doing the monitoring that's required once RJ Devereaux takes ownership.
The contaminated area pretty well contained.
It's pretty well contained, but it's down by Lammy's Automotive is where the areas are, but it is pretty well contained. We were able to find some of the older wells and a lot of the contamination in the older wells, which is more upland, had dissipated. But at Lammy's, there was a well in that area that had an issue. It was in between the Lammy's building and the existing building to the front of that. We also think our LSP has advised that putting an AUL, activity and use limitation, on the property will also be of assistance. And that AUL will prohibit any residential use of the property, which it's not intended to be residential use. So, so that's another method of helping this and putting people on notice that you can't have residential here because there was contamination. It is hoped that after a period of time that the contamination, one of the things that will be required going forward is periodic testing. And it's hoped that during time, the periodic testing will show the dissipation in the well that had the higher concentrations, just like it had, that's what bared out in some of the other wells that we tested.
All right, and then I guess the only other thing, just before we turn it back over, I just wanted to go over the permitting so far. As Paula had said, we have gone to ZBA for a variance for the use within the groundwater overlay district. And currently we are in the process of applying to planning board for site plan approval and also a special permit to the planning board. As part of that review with planning board, I don't believe we have to apply under the groundwater overlay district, but the discussion at ZBA was that we would get reviewed to those standards. So when Fred reviews the plans, you know, he would still be reviewing it to those standards, which I believe we've met because we've complied with this DEP standards for the stormwater. And there was one comment or discussion I had with Mia related to potential roof drains on the other two buildings. We are looking at those options, and we would be able to provide something, you know, prior to the next hearing on what options we, you know, came up with to enhance the roof drainage and infiltration on those buildings. I think that's everything.
Can I address one other thing? When we went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, one of the requirements in the front building to the right is there will be some chemicals stored in that building because of the use for repair of small machinery and equipment. There will be a tight tank that will be installed so that any chemical spills or anything coming from that building will be contained within that tight tank. So it will not spill over into onto the pavement or certainly not into the wetlands area. And it's been designed to also, so the tight tank has been designed and the Zoning Board of Appeals was happy with that. And it is a condition of the Zoning Board of Appeals approval.
You've got ZBA approval. You're just waiting to get in front of the planning board.
Correct.
Okay. One question I have here at the most of this is outside of the well, certainly there's not a lot inside the buffer zone, but the equipment parking on the right-hand side over there, the parking on the left-hand side has a storm scepter, I think. Do we have any? We have some exposure there. And we're close to the wetlands, right? What about potential leakage from, dripping oil or brake fluid or something from vehicles parked there?
Yeah, so that, sorry about that. Yeah, so that was one of the reasons we use the storm scepters. They do separate out the oils and the floatables better than some of the other structural treatment systems.
Mhm.
So everything from this area, there'd be a curbing around the edges here.
Yep.
And then everything we could get into these deep sump catch basins, and we also have hoods on those. And then it would go through this storm scepter.
Okay, to that scepter. Okay, good. Good. All right. Thank you.
So we have one on that system and then one also.
One over here.
Over here too. And then we also have two, if I can get over there. One on each side of the Lamy Automotive. There's one over here and one over here.
Okay. All right. Good. Any questions from the commission? Comments, concerns?
I just have a quick comment in regards to the roof drains, in regards to those two buildings, where you have, a pre-existing ground or groundwater contamination. You really don't want to put, an additional water source in there, because that's going to make it migrate further away. So I don't know that you'd have to put a reinjection gallery that's outside of the, contamination zone for any of those roof drains.
That's one thing that's why I didn't want to just kind of jump on it and add that in right away. I want to get over with the LSP to see where they'd recommend it. And then what type of a, device they'd like to see. It might be just something small that gets a little bit in, or if, we do a full infiltration, if it gets to get pushed up to the front or something like that. So I'd like to take a little bit deeper look at it before we kind of just put something on there.
Yeah, you probably don't want to go to the front. Just, groundwater flow is most likely to the wetlands. So,
yeah,
it's got to be, but yeah, just go with the direction of the LSP.
Yeah, because sometimes, you want to put it either downgrading, upgrading. It depends what they want to do.
Right.
So we'll have to just discuss with them and see what they recommend.
Overall, everything else I'm happy with.
Any more questions or comments from the commission? Let me see. It sounds like we're going to continue this because of the roof drainage open item.
That's up to you. It's definitely an overall improvement to existing conditions. It would be nice to see that recharge of the roof, because the area between Lamy and the administration building, we do want to reduce flooding there. There is flooding there right now. So it would be nice to see not, flooding, especially now that we know the contamination is ongoing. So yeah, you could continue it until you get more information on that.
And the contamination area, what's happening there is really outside of our scope, right? That's between between DEP and the applicant.
Yep, different department.
Yep. Okay. All right. Let's see if we have any public comments here. Looking for public comments. I don't see any hands being raised. Okay. No other commission comments. Well, I'm thinking that we should move this to February and see those the roof drainage pieces. Tom, would you agree to that? We'll see what they're going to come back with.
Can I say one more thing, Greg, after Tom?
You can say whatever you want.
DEP comment came back to confirm that the stream was intermittent. I had run stream stats on the site of the intermittent stream in the back, and got the same calculation that the watershed area was too small and determined the stream to be intermittent. But the comment from DEP came back. I'll just read it for you so we say that we addressed it. Mass DEP recommends the applicant provide the remaining 3 days of observation needed to overturn the USGS perennial stream designation in keeping with the regulations, or a copy of a valid permit confirming the intermittent status. So they wanted 3 days of observation or copy of a valid permit. As Vito pointed out in one of his comments, is that we do have a downstream determination from 1 Lyman Street, 1 and 29 Lyman Street. Long story short, that INRAD is still valid and did determine that the downstream area was intermittent, and the downstream area has an even larger watershed. So if that is intermittent, this is intermittent.
Good, thank you. All right. So unless anybody has an objection, I think we should continue this until next month. When Vita can come back with some discussion of the roof drain options or the way they're going to go. It's a fairly significant item. Any disagreement there?
Nope.
Okay, then we need a motion.
Could I ask the commission to discuss special conditions they would like to see, because I won't be here next month, so I could get them listed and draft the order, so that whoever is taking over for me would be easier for them to issue the order. So I would like to suggest permanent markers.
Permanent markers, you mean the wetland markers
Yep, the signs along the rear.
on the back side of the property?
Yeah, we'll say about every 50 feet with approval.
Do we do MEA for larger sites like this that require SWIP? Do they usually submit the SWIP inspections to you too?
Yep, let's do that. Sometimes we can require environmental monitoring reports, but I think during construction, we request the weekly SWIP reports instead of a separate environmental monitoring report. So we'd like a copy of the weekly SWIP reports. The O&M for the stormwater system will be appended to the order and an ongoing condition. If there's anything else. Any other special conditions
What
you can
about,
think
Vito,
of?
I can't remember if I saw a track, but was there a track pad shown on the plans just for the trucks heading back onto Bartlett?
Thought we showed the detail and just a call out. We just said right now we're going to use the existing driveway coming in, and then once it's taken out, put the tracking pad. Yeah, just said replace. We didn't draw. We just said to kind of replace with the gravel entrance after.
Okay.
But initially, at least they can use those existing driveways, which is nice.
Yeah, I just know with those, when they start digging around, once they start going in the back, it tends to even, pick up onto the driveway, and then we end up with it on the street pretty quick.
Yeah.
So maybe just it's something that can get monitored while the SWIP is getting looked at too.
We can add weekly street sweeping and as needed. Just friendly advice, keep the street clean. We do get a lot of calls from that part of town.
So a motion to continue. Dan, you were starting that, I think.
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't Dan. I thought it was.
I don't think it was me, but I can do it. A motion to continue 200 Bartlett Street to the February meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kelly. Roll call. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So continue to February, Vito, and the primary focus will be the roof drainage option discussion.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Very good, very good. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
There will be a significant change, improvement to that site. So, all right, let's see, 314 Church Streets. We can move, let's see, Paula, you're not here for this, are you?
Nope, I am not.
Okay, we're going to say goodnight to you.
Okay.
I think that's it. We have Rick Gates with us, yes?
No, Rick
Rick is gone.
He was for Bartlett Street.
Okay. Do we need anybody else?
I don't know if anyone was going to be here for this.
Okay.
didn't
So
think
I just pulled in Eric as well. Is he the applicant?
Eric Hyder,
Yes,
you're the applicant, yes?
correct.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
All
I didn't
right,
see his
you
name.
certainly should be here. Okay,
There he is.
very good. Welcome. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jim. Okay, so what do we have here? 314 Church Street. We want to do a renovation addition to existing single-family house, new driveway, new septic system, landscape, associated site work.
Okay.
Vito, you want to set us up?
Yep. All right.
Let me rephrase that. Vito, you want to lead us in discussion?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
There we go. All right. So this one is an existing house over on Church Street. It's a 0.7 acres. Right now it was kind of overgrown. It's been left for a while. But Eric recently bought it and they're looking to fix it up, renovate the existing house, and kind of improve the overall site. So right now there is a BVW on the west side of the lot, kind of down in here shown in green, with the 100-foot buffer extending out for a majority of the site, not quite all of it, but a lot of the site is inside that buffer. So right now, the existing site there's a garage up front. There's an existing driveway that kind of comes in a little U-shape over here in this corner. And then the existing house is back here. The existing portion is this kind of lighter color. And then also there's a little appendage here, one off the back, and there's also a deck right over there. So right now, the existing house is just outside the 25 foot, I mean. It's basically right on that line, more than 25 feet of the wetland there. There was some work done on the site early on, just some cleanup work, basically. I don't remember if it was an actual enforcement order or just a notification. And after that, they did put up straw wattles, and kind of stopped doing that cleanup work. It was more just, cleaning up around the house, cleaning up. They had cleaned some vegetation out down in here too. So now that they've kind of got us on board, do a septic design and also a design of the overall site. So what they're looking to do is, first off, replace the septic system. There's an existing cesspool out the back. It's within the groundwater table, it's well within it. So we're going to move that septic out as far as we can. On this one, we did have the opportunity to get outside the 100-foot buffer. So we just sneak that in out there. It's like about 102 feet away, I think it is. We did have to use a pump just to get that up there because of the high groundwater. So it is an elevated system. We have a small retaining wall, 2 to 3 feet tall, around the edge to contain that grading. And then they want to look at renovating the existing house. So they're going to take off 2 of these pieces of the house, take off the deck closest towards the wetland, and then infill this corner in here with a proposed addition. So now the structure itself would be just outside the 35 foot. It's right on the line of 35.1. But it would move that structure outside that area. And then they'd also like to relocate the driveway to make it more functional with the site. So there's an existing curb cut in the wall up in here. There isn't a driveway, but there's a break in the wall. So I'd like to move the driveway, put it up here, coordinate with the garage, have a walk to the way of the house. And then down here where there's the existing driveway, they would take that out. We proposed a small restoration area in that inner area closest to the wetland. And then the remaining of the part of the driveway would just get converted to loam and seed. So it'd all get vegetated, but we did want to have a restoration area also as a component in there. And then the only other component kind of is the site work. We also have some plantings around the house, and they've also asked to put in a fence to keep to fence in the backyard. That fence has been proposed, to be within the 35-foot zone, but we've pulled it back to keep it outside the 25-foot inner area. We kind of kept it in line where the old house used to be. And as kind of the offset mitigation to hopefully allow the chain link fence or fencing through that area, we had proposed this restoration down in that lower area closest to the wetland. We did ask for a waiver for that fence to be placed within the 35-foot zone, and also for work within the 25-foot zone to do the restoration, and then also just for site access to allow us to take down this portion of the house and the deck down in here. Mia did provide us with some comments. We did not have a chance to respond to those, but we would be able to do that for the next meeting. And basically looking for a little more detail on the restoration area, some planting plan to do that, and then also add in what the existing and then whatever the future proposed tree lines would be down in here. So we do have to get out there and locate that tree line, and we get all that information back in for review before the next meeting. I think that was all we had.
So Vito, on what is inside the 35, what's inside the no-built 35-foot buffer right now? The
So
chain link
right now,
fence,
there's that piece
Right,
of the house
yeah.
in there now that they're gonna take off,
that's
and
coming
this
out.
deck they're gonna take off, and then
Okay.
proposed would be this fence right in here.
Okay. I'm just trying to see what would happen if you pulled that fence out of the 35 altogether, maybe ran it off the corner of the house,
You have to pull it back over into here.
Yep.
Um,
or even angle it, just angle it along the 35. If you want to make that corner, you can do that too.
Yep. Yep, I mean, that's an option. We have to go over that with Eric to see if that would still work with their plan. Eric, I don't know if that's something that would work with what you're looking at.
Yeah, I have no issues pushing it, to match that 35 line.
Okay,
Yeah, you just right off the corner there, Eric, right? And then you could just actually, if you wanted to angle it down the existing corner down there, you could do that too. You still
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, I have no problem moving it there if
Okay.
that makes a lot more sense for you guys.
okay.
Yeah, we have no build within the 35, and that's a fence as a structure. So
Okay.
Okay, so I guess if we move that, then yeah, we'll have nothing in the 35, so that's good. Move these two out of there.
but we do still like the restoration area, Vito.
Yep.
So, Mia, comments you have?
No, I just wanted to get the existing tree line on there so that we had it for the records. Because you can see the property line is over in the wetlands. So sometimes people move in and start to expand the backyard into the wetlands. And then I did want more detail on the buffer restoration area so that it wasn't just loam and seeded and then they park on it later. But I do think those can be approved administratively if you'd like. I'm comfortable approving the revised plans and the buffer restoration area administratively.
Any questions from the commission? Comments, concerns? Don't hear anything. Take a look at the public comments.
Just one quick one, just on the existing garage. Since it's access from the other side today, would that access just be flipped? Are you looking to kind of like reside that or something and change it? I assume it must have doors or something on the existing side now.
Yeah, the existing garage, the existing doors would basically just flip flop to the other side. So it makes more sense with that.
You're
drive.
gonna keep the same structure, just kind of change the
Yeah,
doors
just
out.
flop the doors, yeah, and re-siding, new roof, and I think a door and 2 windows.
Right. In the existing water service, I see you're putting a new service into the building. The other one just get abandoned in place, Vito?
Yeah, you just abandon it right there. We figured we'd pull it out. If we're gonna put a new one in, we'd pull it out away from the wet in case you ever have to work on it in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. No, I think it looks good.
Anybody else? I don't see any
No, it
hands up.
looks like an overall improvement.
Does. I don't see any public comment. Yeah, we could close this tonight, I think, Mayor, as long as we can get the comments on the more detail in the restoration area and the tree line.
I agree.
Any objections from the commission for moving ahead with those? You want to wait and push it to February for that?
I don't think we have to move it, but that's my
Okay.
personal opinion.
Okay.
It's pretty
Anybody else?
straightforward.
Nodding heads.
I'm fine with it, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then let's go ahead and so Mia, how are we going to word that on the order?
We can condition that we receive revised plans showing the tree line and a detail for the restoration plan approved by Conservation Commission or their staff. And we should also consider some permanent markers along the edge.
Mhm.
Well, we're really doing a lot of markers tonight here.
I gotta sell some signs. No, I'm just kidding. I only have like 2 left, so.
Where are we thinking there? Nothing in the back, probably along the.
Yeah. Just
Probably
1 or
like
2
a-
along the side.
Yeah. I wouldn't think any more than a couple.
Yeah, maybe even just 1. And there's a lot of trees there, so just 1 on a tree, unless they prefer a different barrier. If they prefer, a boulder or a line of bushes, the sign's pretty inexpensive and simple.
I think 2 signs would be appropriate, one in back of the garage and one out in back of the fence.
Yeah, I mean, kind of one out here and one over in here,
Yep,
something like that.
yeah, that would do.
A lot less expensive than putting in shrubbery, so. Okay, so a couple of signs and receipt of the detail around the restoration plan and tree line delineation. Prior to commencement of work, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then if we all agree, let's move ahead to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the hearing on 314 Church Street.
Second,
Seconded by Kelly. Roll call. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes,
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
yes.
I vote yes.
Okay. Make a motion that we issue our order of conditions for 314 Church Street with the previous conditions that we discussed.
second,
Seconded by Dan. Roll call. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
yes,
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I vote yes. All right.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're off and running, Eric. You're off and running. Thank you, Vito.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for working with us. Good luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Have a nice night.
Oh, and just for the record, it was a violation letter, not an enforcement order, so it doesn't need to be closed out.
Okay.
No. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right, you
Right.
too.
Okay.
Thanks, Vito.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Night. All right. Certificates, COCs, 185 Otis Street, and that's the only COC. Any issues with that one, Mia?
Nope, this was Teamworks Building. They
Ah,
had
yes.
proposed to do some recreational, like a court or something on the
Yep.
right. They never
Yep.
did it.
They never did.
No, and I did visit the site over the summer. They're trying to maintain their stormwater system. They cleaned out the catch basins, flushed the lines, but their basins are actually located in the town of Westboro on the old, I don't think it's called Fountainhead anymore, on that property. So they're working with that owner to try to come up with a maintenance, because I think they share the basins. So it's
They're-
stable, the site's stable.
They're not going to go ahead and do that work that they have the order for.
No, they want to close it out.
Okay. Then let's close it out.
Okay, I make a motion, we issue a certificate of compliance for 185 Otis Street.
Second.
Seconded by Justin, yeah?
Yep.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Two extensions, 5 Barefoot and Bartlett Pond. Now the extensions, this is for 5 Barefoot is for the property at the corner of Barefoot and, is that Hudson Street?
Solomon Pond Road?
Solomon Pond Road. yeah.
Solomon Pond Road, yep. They didn't get to start work. There was an appeal and it's been in litigation. So they just haven't been able to do any work.
And what about Bartlett Pond?
Bartlett Pond is for the vegetative maintenance. So they would like to extend it. It's actually, Solitude wrote to remind me that it was going to expire, but it's actually your order.
I'll make a motion to issue an extension for the order of conditions at Bartlett Pond.
What about 5 Barefoot?
We can take them one at a time. That's
We'll do
fine.
one at a time. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second Bartlett Pond.
All right. We'll vote on Bartlett Pond then. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Now Barefoot's pretty cut and dried. I mean, we gave them an order. They
You
have
would
issues
not
outside of our
extend.
control.
Yeah, if there was any new information, any changes to the plans. But there's been nothing like that, same plans.
I'll make a motion to issue an extension for the order of conditions at 5 Barefoot Road.
Second.
By Todd. Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And for the record, these are your local regulations require 1-year extension. So these were both 1-year extensions.
Right. Violation. You want to skip over that for a second and talk, because that might be a little bit of a discussion, talk about the vote to the Mass Forest Stewardship, Mia?
Sure. If you remember last month, you had asked me to reach out to foresters to get some cost estimates for the forestry management plan for Mount Pisgah Conservation Area and the Edmund Hill Conservation Area. I started calling foresters and one of them pointed out his fee would be exactly what the state paid. And I said, tell me more. And there's a forest stewardship program that covers the cost. And if it's a forester that they work with, they'll pay the forester directly. And it's for a new forestry management plan. I did contact the state forester who manages the program, and he said we'd be a good candidate for each. The reason I'm rushing it is because, there's no site work here. It's almost like a consulting plan. We would just pick a forester and then apply for the program. And then Tom has generously volunteered to work with the forester to keep the program going till the new staff arrives, because they would just be preparing a plan for you to review later with different options for the property. It's kind of like an inventory. The other thing as part of the program is that I have a folder, but I've misplaced it on my desk. There's two parts to the program. There's the forestry management. They're also trying to get people to do this bird assessment, and it's a bird habitat assessment by Mass Audubon. I think some of our wildlife biologists might, I know Diane would love that. She loves the birds. I don't mean to speak for her, even though she's not here. But it's just a bird habitat assessment, and many of the foresters are qualified to do that as well. And it would just be two separate reports, no additional cost because they're both covered by the program.
I think there's a limit. If I read it correctly, there's a limit on the dollar amount on the program.
There is, and I've received 3 cost estimates, 2 or 3. Let me take a look. And one was that his fee would be what the state charges. The
Okay.
other one came in below the state's fee. So it's not like we get any extra money. The state just pays all of it.
So the town of Northborough pays nothing at this point in time.
That's right. And I think if we can get a forester that works directly with the is it DCR? Yeah, with DCR, then you don't even have to go through like the vote to expend the funds or to get the Board of Selectmen to accept a donation. You know, we just get free plans. But the funding runs out around March every year. So that's why we want to get moving.
Tonight, so we can get our applications in.
Yep.
Seems like a no-brainer here.
Yeah, so we received 2 estimates, one from John Clark and one from James DeMayo. Oops. Both are highly qualified. Mr. Clark does propose some additional trail mapping. It's kind of an edge to his.
They both
Yeah,
work
well,
directly with DCR.
They both work directly with DCR.
we've had that discussion multiple times about the additional trails and that have been put in up by rogue people. So
No, not creation of additional trails, just mapping the trails, giving us
mapping
GIS
that,
files.
yes, right, because we have more trails than what are on our maps.
Well, our maps need updating is why, like, there's the Sparrow Trail was recently moved, you know, and then the Johnson Trail was added. Those aren't on the maps yet.
So my question I have is, we're just talking about the Mount Pisgah area and Edmund Hill Woods. The other properties that we purchased because of, is it because of who holds a CR? We're not looking at those?
When we spoke last month, I thought it was just those 2. I did include the Green Street property with Mount Pisgah. It's across Green
Oh, okay,
Street.
you did.
But I lumped that in. I gave them
Okay.
a list of parcels and a map with all the parcels and did the acreage. And that's what they used for the cost estimate. So Green Street, but now I'm trying to think if there's, off the top of my head, if there's any other large chunk of conservation land that we would get a forestry plan on. I think most of the other stuff is state land.
Right.
So,
And go ahead.
no, go ahead, Mia.
Well, I just want to say one more thing is, you know, that Fish and Wildlife parcel up on Pisgah, I included that in the acreage, assuming Fish and Wildlife would be willing to let us, just because it's kind of silly to cut it out.
Okay.
Just a couple thoughts. I'm sorry I missed this at the last meeting. First of all, I think it's a great idea. It was actually sort of on my internal list of discussions, was talking about management of some of our conservation areas. Just a couple of thoughts. So typically when they prepare a forest management plan, they try to get a sense of what the landowner's goals are. So forest management plan doesn't necessarily mean you have to do any forest management. But if it is something that you want to do, they would include that in their plan. So I don't know if we've ever had a discussion on what we want to actually do on conservation areas that are forested. So I don't know how they would write the plan without understanding some of our goals. So.
Right, that's part of the plan there is a section for goals.
Right. So I mean, I guess my point is at some point we have to define what our goals are. So,
Yeah, that's right.
so
When
I
you
don't
get your
know.
forester, they could come in and you could
Yeah.
have that conversation.
Yeah,
Do they,
I would imagine that, you know, after, if they have a chance to evaluate some of the property, then the forestry plans that I've read do get recommendations from the foresters as to, you know, anything that might need to be cut or something that would enhance the property.
Yeah, I was thinking more, for example, so a landowner's goal might be they want to make a certain amount of money every so many years from timber sales on their property. That might be one of their goals. Another goal might be I want to enhance certain types of wildlife habitat, particularly if it's a bird. You might say, I want to enhance early successional bird habitat. That might be another goal, but you would approach your forest management very differently depending on those two goals. So I guess
Right.
we'd sort of have to figure out, you know, what, and I don't know if we decide what our goals are for our forest management plans or if it's a broader discussion with someone else. I certainly have a lot of ideas, but they're, you know, just my ideas.
Right. Well, we had some discussions at different times about creating some edge habitat and, you know, a couple of field areas in different spots. But I think I'd rather have the, you know, opinion of the forester and have them, you know, have their input. I know that Sudbury Valley did a couple on, what was that, on the Northborough-Westborough line on Cedar Hill, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, just some thoughts. Yeah,
One of the
something to
other
think
things
about.
is, I'm sorry, is the issue with abutters and trees that are, you know, impeding on, you know, other people's property or falling on other people's property. So I think some of that would be like edge management, you know, and possibly cutting for edge management. And I think we could, as a group, probably come up with, you know, the guidelines for what we want to accomplish. I'm working on another parcel that we're purchasing, and we're trying to renew the forestry plan there. And I've been in contact with the state forester on that also.
I recommend you have a public session, one for each site, and notify the abutters and bring them in and let them speak before you say your goals. And then from what you hear from them, then have the commission have a discussion. So at that meeting, you can say at the next agenda, the commission will be formulating the goals based on your input and the commissioner's input, and then move forward from there. One of the foresters, oh, no, it was a state forester. I guess he was involved. There was a forestry management plan, I think in 1998 for Mount Pisgah. And it recommended cutting signage. I mean, very little cutting. It wasn't going to make any money. It was going to cost money, but it was just for habitat management and management of successional forest. And it never took place because of the public opposition.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, have we ever cut any trees on a conservation area before?
No, it sounded like they were going to throw themselves in front of the equipment. So
Yeah.
it stopped. So, you know, having that, the state, what was Mike Downey? Is that his name?
Yes.
Yes, Mike Downey's like, based on, he goes, has Northborough changed much in 20 years? I said, no, I think we can expect the same results. There's a big folder on it here. It was Sue Brackett. Sue Brackett was trying to do it. And she's very pro-environment. You know, it was a very environmentally friendly plan with environmentally friendly goals, but it never occurred. So, you know, really getting ahead of that. And Mike Downey said the same thing, get ahead of it, advertise it, have a public meeting.
Yeah, we do.
If we move ahead with from a timeline perspective, moving ahead with the getting involved in the process, when will we actually have a forester selected? We talking
don't
1
know.
month, 6 months, 2 months?
It's very quick. These are very quick. You just submit them to Mike and he decides whether or not it gets funded. I think he may have a board. I'm pretty new to this funding program. But we'll, the vote, if you want to vote to apply, I'll apply to Mike. If he comes back and is like, no, actually, let me pull up the application to see if we have to have.
I think that once we apply, we get a forester name, then we want to have our meetings, right? The public meetings.
Yep. Yeah. So the forester is not listed on the application. It just says plan prepare if known. So we can just go ahead and apply and then select a forester. Maybe Tom could interview, or look at their estimates. I've only received 2, but I could reach out. I contacted 4, and it was only last week, so I didn't want to push them and say you have to have it within the next 8 days. So, but I did get 2 back. We get another 2. You guys can talk about it at the next meeting and select one. Tonight's vote is just to submit the application.
Dan, you were going to say something, and I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, we do a lot of forest management, and you're right, it can be controversial. So I agree, getting, the public involved and the public sort of educated, depending on what we think is appropriate there. I actually know Jim DeMaio. He's a great forester. So he used to be the chief forester for DCR. So,
Oh, wow.
so he's retired and I think doing this on the side now.
Well, that's a good reference. Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and vote to apply. That's where we are tonight, right?
Okay, I make a motion that we apply for forestry management plan funding.
Second.
Was that Todd?
Yep.
Yes.
So it's
Thank
Todd
you.
Helwig, yes. Roll call, Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston.
Yes.
I vote yes.
So next month, I'll put on the agenda to pick a forester. Tom's going to be looped into all the estimates, so he'll be bringing you the estimates. And then after that, you'll have to decide. I mean, wait to see if you get the funding before you have the public meeting. No need to take the abuse until you get the money. So.
That's right. Okay. 0 Lyman Street. 0 Lyman Street. We have some people here. I think Jim is bringing them in. Dan LaFrance. Susan, is it Roosh? Is that it?
I believe Ken Sanderson is also in the waiting room.
Sorry, did you say that was Kenneth Sanderson?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Welcome, Dan.
Good evening.
And Ken and Susan are joining us.
I apologize. I was on mute inadvertently.
Very good. And we can see Dan, okay, there's Susan. And did I pronounce your last name correctly? Is it Roosh?
It's Rook.
Rook. Okay.
Very good. And Ken Sanderson is our new DCAM environmental team member. Just like the commission is suffering a loss of a valued member, James Matz of my team recently moved on to a new opportunity, but Ken is joining the project for DCAM.
So we're following on here to the Lyman Street violation. Mia, let me walk through what I think. Some notes that I have here that you can bring it back to the straight and narrow after I'm done. Okay. We had a stabilization plan approved and implemented. I think that we need to talk a little about the scraping of stockpiled materials and the installation of the turbidity curtain and the jute netting. Then we have a talk about a long-term restoration plan in beaver removal. We had some dates around that. That pretty much where we are, Mia?
That's right.
Okay. So, since we met last, what's happened?
The stabilization plan has been fully implemented. The erosion controls are in, the jute netting is in, the sediment has been removed. And I think we are just waiting on the long-term plan, which my notes say that we were going to, the commission wanted to accept an amended order of conditions for a restoration plan by January 28th, which is the deadline for the February 14th meeting. And then we did want to discuss the beavers tonight, and whether you want to include that in the amended order.
Did we get an impact report submitted by the middle of December?
Yes.
We did. Okay, great.
It was.
Okay. So what we're looking for is a plan to clear the culvert, or is that already done, or is that in a different? Yes, a plan to clear the culvert.
The culvert is not fully
partial. Yeah, there's still a partial obstruction in the culvert.
Okay. So we need a plan to clear it out that does not involve using equipment and a pile driver, right? That's good.
Yeah.
And then they need a long-term restoration plan of the altered wetland resource areas and the beaver removal. And we're looking for that by, I believe, the end of January, 1/28. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's my new last day, so I'll get to read it.
We go. Okay. Susan, you had your hand up.
Well, I did. So there's going to be a plan to clear the culvert and some restoration associated with our existing order of conditions for the demolition project. Separately, we're going to be having a long-term plan dealing with the beavers. So Dan LaFrance from Fuss and O'Neill, he's going to talk about what we anticipate including for the amended order of conditions.
Okay.
Yeah, so in terms of, what we're considering sort of the long-term, I guess, midterm restoration is kind of the way that I'm thinking of this is, we put the turbidity curtain in before we did, the sediment removal and all that. Before that turbidity curtain comes out, what we need to do with the system, and right now on the upstream side of the access road, it was a flooded swamp for about 12 or so years. So there is no surface vegetation in there. It's all sediment that's built up. There is some, debris from the beaver dam. We're proposing to put in a couple of core logs with some live stake plantings in them, probably grand total of about a dozen or 15 live stake, probably silky dogwoods, and maybe some other live stakes if Mia recommends them, but and to put in some jute netting and kind of stabilize the upstream face against the existing edge of the roadway. And the idea is just to make sure that area kind of holds in place, comes in over the next few months. And like I said, when we pull before we pull the turbidity curtain, we want to make sure that everything on the upstream side is held into place so it doesn't all wash in the next time it rains. So in real short, that's kind of what we're intending by the restoration plan, at least on the upstream side. And on the downstream side, we've removed the sediment and tried to restore the function in terms of the flow patterns that were there before the whole release occurred. And on that side, we're looking at it and saying that there's not really, there's enough existing seed in the ground that, growing season, everything will come up on its own. And we weren't necessarily planning to go in and do any active plantings within that area, just so that we're not trampling all over anything unnecessarily. But again, we'll hear any feedback on that, and if need be, we can do more there.
And Dan, if I may add, I think that we were planning to do a combination of the silky dogwood and also some native willows that have also been observed on site, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right to me.
So Susan, did you say that the beaver removal is going to be a different plan?
Yes, I did, and I think we talked about it a little bit last time. So the demo project, the project that had applied for and received the order of conditions, really has to do with the demolition, and as part of that, access over the roads that the beavers caused to be flooded. So the project is managing any rebuilding of dams by beavers and not allowing that to happen. But this bigger project of dealing with the beavers is more of a property management issue, not really related directly to that demolition project. So in the interim, since we've met, we have talked internally and gotten approval to do a beaver management project. And we've gotten some funding, and we're in the process of determining how to procure that and what will be the most efficient way. What we heard pretty loudly and clearly on the last commission discussion about this is that if there's any way for us to move up dealing with the beavers, that the agent and the commission would like us to do so. So we're working to see if we can do that. If you may recall, originally we were talking about getting a consultant to kind of design a plan. We're trying to expedite that. And I had hoped to be able to report to you the outcome of that, but between the holiday season and different people being out, we don't have it completely nailed down, but I can keep Mia updated throughout the next couple of weeks, what the resolution of that and what our timing is for that.
Amended order of condition versus new NOI. Is there a preference from either Mia or DCR?
I like one order, one file number, one order. Keep it all, and as Susan said, this is part of the demo project. It was even in the original order that the culvert would be cleared and maintained, or something. There'd be some culvert plan, even if it was just to put steel plating. We talked about that at one point, putting steel plating over it, and then at the end ripping it out. Just whatever the plan is for the culvert.
Right, and I think DCAM and Fuss and O'Neill, if I can speak for them, since Dan and I have talked about it, the order of condition clearly says to clean out the culvert. It doesn't maybe have all the details that normally might have been included, but it would make sense, therefore, for this cleaning out of the culvert and related protective activities to all be done as part of an amended order. And we are more than happy if we can put together that amended order application before the February meeting to do so. But if somehow we're fighting the clock, some of this activity is very time sensitive in terms of season. We want to get it done. And I know for some other projects in other towns, we've occasionally encountered field changes that were approved by an agent and a commission, and we filed the amended order after the fact because it was necessary to do so. We're hoping to file in advance by, what was the date, the January 28th date, if we can, but we are sort of struggling, as many organizations are, with a couple of key folks who are ill and who may be out for a little bit of time due to the situation we're all facing, but we're aiming for the 28th. But I just mentioned that in the background to see if that could be a backup position if necessary.
I think we've done that before. Yep. I mean, ideally, we like to have it up front, but like you said, Susan, there are other circumstances taking place out there that might impact that. And if we have to do it on the run, we do it on the run.
So there may not be staff in February, even a temporary staff. Like, I mean, maybe more administrative. Sorry, Justin, would you be willing to review a culvert plan? I think Justin is more than qualified. Even Dan too. Have you done culvert plans before?
Well, if it's related to beaver, yeah, hundreds.
So if we could get a volunteer to I could connect you with a commissioner directly to get review, just because there's no interim staff. We're going to try to hire someone, but.
Right, and we were wondering that too, and sort of theorizing if we've done quite a few things by email approval since this order of conditions passed because of the unexpected beaver activity that had happened in the intervening time. And, we weren't really sure if it was something that the commission that you would want to have Mia look at and approve via email to be followed up with a formal filing. Whatever works best for the commission will work within the pathway that you set for us.
So Dan or Justin, volunteers, either
I mean, I
or.
think Dan, certainly if it's beaver related, I know Dan's, up to speed on that stuff. As far as the culvert goes, I could take a look at that too. I mean, I guess in the interim, Mia's stuff going to be coming in through Fred, and then he'll kind of disperse it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just worried Fred won't be able to get to it. He hasn't been asked yet to be the interim staff, and we don't know if he will be. So he may not, because he's the interim town planner right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes in, it could probably just come to both me and Dan, and we could take a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to take a look.
And then if it's after the 28th, the 31st, an amended order of conditions will be sent to DEP. A copy should be sent to DEP, and then I'll be over there. So I can comment from over there.
Good. We got a plan.
Excellent, thank you.
And the beavers can be removed under an emergency certification anytime, tomorrow, next week.
Understood.
Well, thanks for the update.
Our pleasure.
We will see you on the 14th of February.
We will see you then. Thank you.
And we'll hear from you prior to that. We appreciate that, Susan. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Welcome, Ken.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stay well. All right. Thank you, Jim. All right, violations. The vice chair discussion and vote. We like to have Diane here. We're close. Otherwise, she'll get the nod. She may want it, but who knows? Absentee, right? If you're absent, you're it. Bartlett Pond year-end report.
So if you remember, Sean McCarthy is here from Solitude, if he could be brought in. Please, as a panelist. So due to increased rains, the treatment wasn't as effective as they had hoped. And so, normally back at the very last page of the year-end report, it does say the recommendations is that, it says overall the 2021 management program had some impact for reducing growth, but due to heavy rains, treatment did not work as well as previous years. In other years, we might suggest skipping a year or two between treatments. Because of the way Floridone targets plant roots and reduces growth for more than one season. However, because of limited effects this year, we believe a 2022 plan is needed in order to maintain a balanced level of aquatic vegetation growth. To specifically reduce the level of growth for fanwort and variable milfoil in 2022. They recommend another round of whole pond herbicide treatment using Floridone. Continue to monitor levels of native submerged vegetation and consider using chelated copper algicides for nuisance growth of filamentous algae. The vast amount of vegetation present often leads to conditions that spur growth of filamentous algae, and that can negatively impact fish and other wildlife. That was another big part of the year-end report is that I've never seen before that I've never noticed before, is that we have filamentous algae growth in significant amounts. Hi, Sean. Thanks for coming.
Oh, absolutely. pleased to meet everybody virtually here. So, yeah. So what can I answer for you? And I will say that with a caveat. I joined Solitude in October. I joined after
welcome.
this treatment was done. I'm replacing somebody who was involved with the treatment. So I'm pretty sure I can answer your questions. If I can't, I will be dealing with those in a follow-up email. But let's see what your questions are and how good I am. So.
My first question was about what went out the outlet. You know, we talked briefly about the fluoridone and the sonar, and I just was asking if it was mostly pelletized, and if that's the case, you know, it went down to the bottom, and we're just not trying not to get the herbicide into Sturt Brook, which is at the outlet.
In this case, we used both liquid and pellet. We have done that in the past too, according to the notes that I found. So I think it's pretty obvious that the liquid did end up getting diluted because there was so much rain back there in that era. And the pelletized probably had less impact than it normally does. The pellets have a half-life of about 24 days, you know, give or take, but it's about that. So every 24 days it reduces and it really sits down by the roots. It gets absorbed into them. It touches the plants and, you know, it gets transferred down to, well, depending on the plant, you know, the root, the rhizome, etc. But it does tend to have a longer term impact to the point where there is a chance, a pretty good chance, that by the end of the season, when the plants were dying off anyway, that the pelletized treatment did have some impact. Likely not as much as it did in previous years. In previous years, we would have been able to skip a season. This year, it doesn't look like, if you want to keep the treatment the same as it was, that skipping 2022 would be, you know, a great idea. So I'll just leave it at that. The liquid has a faster half-life. It gets pretty diluted after about 2 or 3 days. Anything that washed downstream ends up being diluted to the point where the impact is minimal. And its ability to kill plants, well, if it didn't kill the plants in the pond, it's very unlikely it's going to kill anything downstream. And it's extremely rare that we have any sort of wildlife impact, fish kill, you know, other marine mammals, etc. Again, because the water tends to be, I'm not going to say fast moving, but fast enough that the dilution happens. So we count on that to act at the time that it's put in the water. If it does not, the window sort of closes. We don't always, I mean, we don't want to overtreat. And that was tempting last year because, you know, the problem with dilution was widespread because of all the rain that we had. And I'll just leave it at that. You know, we did not overtreat, and it looks like we may have to treat, assuming you want to have the same effect this year. We may need to treat next year instead of skipping.
I mean, was the original plan a 5-year plan every other year? Was that the original?
The plan was, our old plan was hit it when it got bad, and we applied for CPC funding. And then, you know, 2 years ago, the commission had the discussion that we really wanted to take a more long-term look and review it annually, and really with the long-term goal of removing all invasive species.
I think it averaged out to about every other year. I'm not sure that that was intentional necessarily, but that's kind of what had happened.
I think we had funding for 3 years, maybe. Well, three applications, maybe. Something like that. Okay. Dan Clark.
So are we out of money? Have we done the 3 applications?
No, just one.
We have money.
We have money. I mean, it sounds like we lost a year. I would strongly suggest we go back in 22 and do it again. Hope for better weather.
Yes. And the algae, I will say, while algae is always a concern, you guys haven't quite hit the threshold yet where I have to say, you know, let's start planning for this and definitely do it this summer. We usually start our treatment of every pond by doing a survey. We do it somewhat early and then come back, you know, a few weeks later and see what sort of growth there is. You have algae. You don't have algae to the point where it's going to be eating up all the oxygen, choking off the wildlife, etc. It is something we need to keep an eye on, and we'll likely make a recommendation after the initial survey.
When would you do the survey, Sean? What month?
What month? It varies. I would shoot for probably, I mean, it's tempting to get out there in May because growth is already occurring, but you don't want to do it so early that you miss anything. So I'm going to say June.
You do the survey in June, then come back to us in July with a recommendation or a suggestion?
Yes.
Okay.
Would that be the survey for the algae in June and come back, or, because I think last year we started our treatments in May, didn't we?
Yeah. Hang on a second. Let me take a look
Let me
at
pull
that.
up.
We did the pre-survey.
It was April. Initial
I have,
sonar
yeah,
treatment
April.
was April 29th.
April. We did the initial sonar treatment at the end of April, and then the sample collection and follow-up was done later. Sample collection was done in May, and follow-up lake inspection was done in September, and then we did some follow-up for that. So that's a little on the early side, but we did come back. It looks like we came back several times there, so we were paying pretty close attention to it.
We're close
So
by.
I would say maybe a little bit later this coming year.
May, June, something like that.
So I
I
just,
didn't quite.
May survey June recommendation or June, July, or
I would recommend June. Yeah,
June for the survey.
June for a survey. Yes. Make note of that myself.
so I just have a quick question, and that was the additional expense for the algae survey. Do we need to look at different funding or additional funding?
We usually look for everything when we come to do a survey. If we think there's a problem or something that is on the cusp of being a problem, we may say to you, hey, look, we want to come back. We want to come back at this particular date, et cetera, to look again. So at this point, I don't anticipate that it would take a separate survey. But if
Okay.
we get there and we find that the algae is significantly higher than we thought, we'll say to you, hey, look, we need to come back more often and take a look. It doesn't always happen that way. I just had a pond up in Melrose. We went there 3 times this past year. We looked at 3 ponds. The one in the middle was fine every time we went. The other 2 needed treatment. So it's kind of unpredictable, although frankly, we've been doing this pond long enough and the treatment has been similar. I don't anticipate a huge difference this coming year. The difference was just the water, the incredible amount of water that came down, and that was a problem.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yep, understood.
Thanks, Sean.
So let's talk money for a minute. We had applied, I think, for like $60,000. I'm trying to pull that up. Your CP, we have a community preservation award. Estimated cost through fiscal year 2024 to be $60,000. I can't find anything where it was like an award letter saying, yes, we gave you $60,000. Todd, do you remember? No. I could go into the town
It was
warrant.
CPC money.
We got, so I think we got $60,000. And then the invoices this year. Sean, do you know what we spent this year? I know I got 3 invoices. I can pull them up.
You know what? I don't deal with that. If you need to know, I can take that as an action item and follow up with you.
I think I have them right here. Invoices. $350, $14,450. So now we're up to like about 15,000. Then another 4,000. So that's 20,000. And then 1,500. So about 3,100. Or 31. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Was that 31,000? No, those I'm sorry. 15,500, 14,500 plus 4. So about 15,000 plus another 5. So it's 20,000. So about 21,000. About 21,000 is what we spent. And then the budget, I think we had budgeted that much.
Mhm.
Back to that. Because we got 60,000 for treatments. So we're on budget. And if you'd like to, so the discussion, I'd like you to vote whether you'd like to move forward with that 2022 treatment. And then we can, move forward on executing a contract with Solitude to do that treatment over this winter so they can start in the spring.
Well, and assuming it's still around the same amount of money, around 20, we'll still have
Mhm.
another year's treatment in the back.
That's right.
Good. Okay. Any questions, concerns from the commission? Okay, then let's move ahead with the vote. So we need a motion to vote on approving 2022 treatment of Bartlett Pond by Solitude.
So moved.
Second,
Second by Kelly. Roll call at Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Kelly Marston,
yes.
and I vote yes.
And then, so thank you. We'd love Solitude to give us a cost estimate for that. And then once that comes in, I think you guys draft us a contract. And
Okay.
before we vote, then you'll come back to vote to expend that amount. The commission
Okay.
will vote to expend that amount.
I will have our salesperson, it probably will be Brendan McCarthy, no relation to me, same last name, but I will have him follow up with you and we'll get that drafted. All righty.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting
Good night.
everyone. Good night.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. That's what I got me. This is most of the agenda right there, unless there's any correspondence you want to talk about.
Let me check. No, we were just at butters on some of the applications. I would like to talk about those volunteer opportunities listed in the
Yeah.
pre-meeting memo.
Yes. So we had 7 that you listed, and we already have some people identified. So we've got the first 2. First one's the Aqueduct Bridge pedestrian access design.
Mhm.
And the second one is the ADA accessible trail Edmund Hill. Both of those are being spearheaded by trails folks,
That's right.
Bob Mahalik and Brian Belfer. So we probably just leave those where they are.
Yes.
Then we have the forest management plan, Edmund Hill, Mount Pisgah. And Tom, you've already signed up for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that when you signed up? You remember that? Yeah, we're good. Okay. So, okay.
Thank you,
Tom's signed
Tom.
Somebody pre-signed me up.
Oh, I asked you and you said yes. Somebody must have hacked into your email then.
Uh,
144 West Main Street, order of conditions. What about 90 West Main Street? Is that one falling off the screen?
Yeah, no, I'll put that on there too. 144 West Main Street and 90 West Main Street. And those get weekly inspections. You just take a look at them once a week, make sure they're in compliance because they're active.
Any volunteers for that?
It's a very uneven site. You would need work boots.
I have availability. The only drawback that I have is on the, where is it? I think it's that around the 15th of February, we're heading to Florida.
For a few weeks. 5 weeks.
5
Good for
weeks.
you.
Nice.
So
Boy, when you come back, things will have gone to hell. It'll just be out of control.
yeah,
Stuff
It
everywhere.
depends on
and
how
the wetlands
cold
be
it
filled
is.
up. Be terrible.
If it's going to stay frozen, then it doesn't, you just
Yeah.
drive by. You drive by and say, nothing happened. It's frozen solid. You know?
so I mean, I don't have a
So-
problem doing it in the short term, but I can't very well do it remotely.
Mhm.
I can do the Main Street stuff, Mia.
Okay.
So Mia, 425 Whitney, is that Steris?
I meant to put 429 Whitney.
Yeah.
I meant to put 432. It's 432. That's ours. These are sites with chronic violators that I just drive by once a month. And I like park the car and look. 432, is Mr. Ans's property, just to see if he has initiated construction on the road again. And then 93 Maynard Street is another violation.
So I drive by 4 and 7 all the time, items 4 and 7, so I can take
Oh,
those.
okay, Lyman Street,
Item 4 is going to be, you got to get in there and chase the beavers too, Todd.
yeah.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone's going to do it, and nobody I can think of better than you. So
You have to wear a reflective vest, and you have to knock on Lyman Street. You have to knock on the trailer, and most of the time they're not in the trailer, but you just have to knock on the trailer and announce you're there.
How frequently?
I go once a week. I go every Thursday. So you can go every Saturday morning. You can go every 2 weeks. It's stabilized. Lyman Street is now stabilized. All
When
they're
did you
doing
last
is
say?
driving up and down. January 28th.
I'll take it, but I'm going to call you first.
Okay.
to
Yeah,
go
we
over
should connect.
procedures.
We should connect on these. So you said you take Lyman Street. There's 2 spots on Lyman Street, Chauncey Hall and behind the power
Yeah.
plant.
That's fine. I mean, it's the same project. It's really the same cast of characters.
Yeah, same company.
What about 93 Maynard Street, Todd? You drive by that one a lot.
Yeah, no, that's why that one I can definitely take.
Okay.
They
That's
seem
just
like they
from-
finished anyway.
85 West Street is not active. It would just need to be watched. I drive by there once a week to see. The next step is paving, and they haven't, all the pavement places are closed. So just driving by to make sure that it hasn't collapsed and that they haven't started paving yet.
It's right down the street from my house. I drive by there all the time. I can keep an
Okay.
eye on it.
And so I'm just assigning each of you this. So when the new staff comes in, they can call you and say, what's happened at this site? Have you observed anything?
Okay, so Dan's got
So-
85 West. Almost, did we talk about Santos yet? Or is that still open?
Yeah, 432 Whitney Street is Todd.
Okay.
What about 200 Bartlett? Because that's going to start soon.
I go by there quite a bit, Mia. That's the one we just.
Yeah,
that's the
looked
one
at
we
that
just
was
talked about.
tonight.
right?
Mhm.
I
You
can
want
take
that?
that if it starts up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Justin has it.
And does
Who's getting
anyone
off
want
light
to,
here? Kelly's getting off light.
how about Kelly, do you want Bartlett Pond? Because that's not site visits, that's
You
mostly
get to get the
administrative.
Conservation Commission canoe if you take Bartlett
Yeah,
Pond.
right. So yes, I can take Bartlett Pond. However, I'm having surgery February 15th and I have an 8-week recovery.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So,
so she's out.
it's fine. I'll be great. And then the store opens. Yay. So I can try.
We're
There's
hoping
no
we have
site
an
visit.
agent by then, right?
Yeah, hopefully by then we'll have an agent, but there's no site visits. It would just be, I would give Sean McCarthy your email address and he would send the cost estimate to you. You'd review it and then go to the February meeting, come to the February meeting and just say, this is how much it came in as. And if you can't get it to you till March, if everybody over there has COVID or is on vacation, you carry it to the March meeting.
Okay, I can do that.
Just sort of a contact person. I'm just
What
worried if,
email,
what's that?
what email are you giving? Kelly at Yeoman's? Is that the one that you?
Whatever you'd like.
Yeah, do Kelly at Yeoman's.
I don't know if I have that one.
That's the problem. Too many email addresses.
I have a different one.
Okay.
One we have here is like Scooby-Doo or something, right? Is that
Yeah.
your other one?
Scooby KD.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one on the listing here. So
Yeah. Could you email me from that one and I'll connect you and Sean,
Yes.
you and Solitude.
Mhm.
And I think that's it. Let me take a look at the agenda, see if there was anything new.
yeah, on the 85 West Street,
Mhm.
for Dan's edification, wasn't there a redwood tree you wanted protected?
They promised me they would protect the bottom of the street is the most beautiful dawn redwood tree. It's the biggest dawn redwood I've ever seen because there's no redwoods around here. They said they would protect it. Tell them I'm still watching. It's not a wetland tree, so
It's visible from the street.
it's right on the corner of the driveway and the street. They said they'd try. It's just a favor. I said, could you please not kill this tree? So did I tell you guys there were walnuts in the woods, huge walnut trees in the woods? And they were they ended up being European, but they were a strange European, like an Italian or something. So I was like, these aren't your classic. So the chestnuts, not walnuts, chestnuts, the American Chestnut Society met me out there, and we harvested about 20 saplings that they took, and they're going to plant them because these things they're right in the middle of where the driveway is going to be. But they had put these and I learned how to, you have to harvest them in a special way. So.
Did you ever work with Charlotte Zampini in Westboro?
No.
She was one of the founders of the Chestnut Foundation. And
Oh,
she was
really?
a vascular plant professor.
Oh, nice.
We focus a lot on
His name is, he's a retired Latin professor who now like his hobby is chestnuts, and he works with the American Chestnut Society. So they came out and we harvested a bunch of the chestnuts.
Kelly, speaking of Westboro, did you, as a Concom member, get the application for Cold Harbor Brewery yet?
Yes.
And it's way in back, right? The wetlands is way in back. Yeah, almost. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's quite an aggressive building he's going to do after.
Yeah.
Where is it going to be?
Otis.
Milk Street. Is it Otis or Milk?
Otis Street.
Is it Otis Street?
Yeah.
Where in Otis?
We get on Otis Street. You know where the ranch house is?
The red barn, or red house.
Right past the Target parking lot. He bought that. It's like 3.5 acres, and that's where Cold Harbor Brewing is going to go. Then you have next to him, you have the old Red's farm stand, which is Amazon.
Oh, I thought they have a plan to expand the current one.
Well,
they're doing something with the current one.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
I haven't seen the one squeezed between Target and Red's. We're dealing with so much Amazon.
Yeah, I bet you are.
We got Amazon coming out our ears.
All right, interesting, cool. All right. Anything else? Attendance for February. Anybody know they're not going to be here on Valentine's Day? We will allow you to bring your significant other to the meeting as a means of negotiation, which I'm sure will work wonders. Everybody good?
I will be able to attend as long as we're doing remote still.
So you're going to be here you'll just be in shorts down by the pool, but you'll be on. Okay, cool. All right.
You did it last year, right? From the condo.
Yeah.
Everybody's good. Kelly, will you be here for February?
I have surgery the next day. So at 6 a.m. I have to be in Boston. So as long as we don't have like a really late night.
Well, like I say, you guys control that. So that's
So what got continued? Just 200 Bartlett got continued, right? Hopefully that'll be fast. So let's talk about dry wells and roof recharge.
Yes.
I know one application is coming in for like a patio in a backyard on Madison Road is coming. And it's one of those classic, they want it right up to the wetlands, and the mitigation proposed, we'll see what they come up with.
That's supposed to be a full moon. So, things get crazy on a full moon.
All right, good. Well, Mia, we're going to miss you.
I'm going to miss you guys too. I hope I can still stay connected. I'll be the circuit rider. I won't be doing any enforcement. I'll be answering the phone. So if you have any questions, you can call. The new agent can call.
What do we have to do to get the circuit rider involved in anything? Do we have to do anything special?
No, you just call. I do training. Like I guess I'll be training people in stormwater, or train new commissioners. If you get any new commissioners, if your agent needs some training, if you get someone who doesn't know EDEP, I'll train people on EDEP. That's the automated system. And then any questions, like Todd actually called me. You made me feel so much better, Todd. You called me today and he said, I actually have a circuit rider question. And he asked me about something in another community. I knew it off the top of my head. So it gave me I'm a little worried I'm going to get in there. So.
Oh, Mia, did you look at Pendleton Square?
I didn't get over there today.
Okay.
No.
Nice.
So, but I'll try to get over. It's going to take some research because they have no wetlands permit. Kelly reported that Pendleton Squares might be pushing snow into the wetlands, and it does look like a wetland, but there's historically no wetlands there. So that might actually be a basin. So I'm trying to find out if it's a constructed stormwater basin. And even if it is, they shouldn't be pushing snow into it, but they can push snow next to it to have it leach in. So I'm still researching whether that's a historic wetland or a basin.
Yeah. The old Santander Bank.
Yeah, you know where Carney Park is? Yep, there's a big building there with offices and karate dojo or something like that. And up in the front right, there's what looks like a wetland, but it's not on the old USGS map. So I think it might be a constructed stormwater basin.
That came into us.
Oh, really?
I think that came into us a long time ago when it was constructed.
Okay. I will have to dig a little deeper in the files.
My daughter dances in that plaza, and they called me last year because there was a rat snake. Cute. And it was curled up in a ball in front of the dance center. And they're like, who do we call? So they called me to come get it out of the dance center.
Did you move it?
I had got one my broom, pushed it down, grabbed it, tossed it back in the water. But, yeah.
I think
Jack of all trades. Kelly, you're a jack of all trades.
You think that's a stormwater basin out front, Tom?
I think so. I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I think it is too. Because then there's a drainage easement across the driveway next door that goes towards the wetlands. So I think it might be a stormwater basin. They still shouldn't be. Do you notice if it was in or they just pushed it next to it?
Just right up to the edge.
Okay, because that's all right. And so now I have to try to find if I can't find the conservation file, if there was no conservation file, there'll be a planning board decision, which would show approved snow storage areas. So just got to do a little more digging.
Yeah, that's been there quite a while.
Yeah.
Me and I are syncing up here the next few weeks on all the items we have going on, and so we'll have a good view of that. And I'm being a pest with the powers that be, trying to get we would want to have a temporary person or somebody sitting in, or what's going to happen here. So, and I'm also at request to be in the interview committee for the new agent on that side. So,
Does
Mia has
get
done a lot to bring us into the 20th century, right? I'm sorry, Kelly, what?
Does Mia get to help interview people too and give them really tough questions?
Fred might do if he has time. I don't know. That'll be up to the assistant town administrator. She's moves things at lightning speed for a municipality. So getting the postings out and getting people in place. So she's been really great to work with. She asked me point blank. She's like, are you unhappy? Is that why you're leaving? And I said, no, I'm happy. This is just an opportunity for growth in my career. And she said, all right, you can call people and talk to them. Like, so I can do some outreach, and I don't want to call people and be like, this place stinks, don't apply, so it's great. This is a great place. There's no supervisor right now. Kathy has retired. So we don't know who the new person will report to, but for now, Fred's the interim town planner.
Yeah, the town engineer.
Kathy retired.
Kathy retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
A lot of change going on here in the group that we interface with a lot here. So
that's why Fred's not going to be available. He's, and then if any of you were subject to Trash-ageddon over the past week and a half, where our trash drivers got COVID and just nobody's trash was picked up. And so our office was just a flutter with that.
Some of the unhappy residents of Northborough on Facebook about that. So.
They are trying so hard to they sent out supervisors with pickup trucks today, and the calls just like decreased. So I think they're getting to it.
All right.
Well, we'll miss
Yeah, but-
you a lot, Mia. I can't
Oh.
can't say I won't be reaching out from my other job, probably quite often. So
I'll be
nice to
answering the
know
phone
somebody
over
in the
there.
internal at DEP Central.
With the, when you Google it, Mass DEP, that phone number, I'll be the one answering the phone, I guess. So you can
Nice.
still call me.
Nice.
So thank you so much. I love working here. You guys are all great. I've started a letter. I did start like a letter to the replacement with contacts, and I listed each of your strengths, to what to go to each person for. Like if you need someone to yell at the town administrator's office, call Todd. Just kidding.
Perfect.
You have a reputation for being the best commission in town. Other staff members come down and they're like, it's not fair that every one of your members is reasonable. You don't have a crazy member. I don't know if any of you serve or watch, all committees have one or two wing nuts, and there's no wing nuts on this commission.
You sound like somebody liberated from a job.
I have in Paxton, I have a self-proclaimed wing nut, and she's delightful. It's good to have that voice of, the bell curve, the extreme, those ends. You got to have them represented, but other staff members are openly jealous. So thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Works
thank
both
you.
ways.
Thanks. Good
Works
luck.
both ways.
Thanks.
All right. Motion to adjourn from somebody.
Make a
Move.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second.
Tom Beals,
Yes.
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.